All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Can you please get the roll call?
Marita,
Here.
Heather,
Here.
Sally. Present. John.
Here.
Philip,
Yep.
Chris,
Here.
Jim.
Here.
I don't mean to interrupt. It is really important that everybody make sure that you talk into the microphone. When I listened to the last meeting, there was a lot that was not recorded. So please make sure your little green light lights up when you speak. Thank you.
All right, do we have any amendments to the agenda for today's meeting? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any amendments to the minutes from last month's meeting? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any public comments that are unrelated to the agenda items for today's meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on. We have nothing on the consent calendar. We have public hearing items. First is consideration of an application from Tamara McCowan for a conditional use permit for a temporary trailer for construction at 567 Mitkoff Highway. Do we have any public testimony? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move approve conditional use permit for a temporary trailer for construction purposes at 567 Mitkoff Highway for 2 years.
I'll second.
With the findings of fact? I believe we have to do that.
Yeah, consistent with the findings of fact.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Any comments, questions, concerns?
I don't see any problems with this. I
Is
think
there a
it's
time limit on this?
2 years.
And then at 2 years, they could reapply for 1 extra year.
Seems in line with what we've approved recently
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah,
I
it's
have no
pretty, it's our
objection.
pretty standard for construction purposes. All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Jim,
Yes.
Oh, wait, do we have a comment?
Any comments?
Mr. Chair, does it?
Please
Bob, can you
step to the microphone.
go ahead, go, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I submitted a public comment, written public comment previously. I hope you looked at it. And my concern was that the conditional use permit have similar milestones as the conditional use permit that I got and that Sarah Jones got when, we're next doors. So in those cases, there was some progress that needed to be made towards having a house. And that was my consideration and my comment, that it shouldn't be an open and shut. 2 years, you're gone without having some notion that there's progress being made prior to the 2 years. So in my case, we had 180 days to start construction. I'm not exactly sure what Sarah had next door when she did the same thing, but it makes sense to me that there'd be some interim checkpoint prior to the 2 years. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. See one here. I was trying to see if there's anything in the findings of fact on that as far as the
I need to
timeline.
excuse myself just a minute. I brought my wrong papers. I grabbed my paper. Do we
We've
have
got
a
a
copy?
stack of them right there.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't see his letter, by the
I
way.
didn't either.
I don't
No.
recall. It's not in the backup. I can't remember.
Just trying to see if there's anything in findings of fact giving, that already gives us that. So. See anything?
Discuss a friendly amendment.
We can. Yes,
So right across the street from Bob is a trailer that's been there for probably 40 years. Was the zoning different back? I mean, is there a grandfather rights why there's a trailer there? I mean, R1?
That wasn't the
Is there a
city's
difference between a
property.
mobile home and a trailer and something that's been moved in on wheels?
40 years ago, the property line for the city ended around 1 mile.
Say that again?
40 years ago, the city boundary ended at about 1 mile.
Okay.
Just
So
past
it's
the
so it's a
ferry terminal.
grandfather rights thing.
So, yeah. It's kind of scooched its way out.
Had we not discussed last time when it was, we had granted being able to put the trailer on for construction at another piece of property that if they haven't met that, they have to reapply. And then we would be up for
that's after 2 years. that they-
after 2 years. But
what's-
was it an open window?
What's,
Was it
yeah,
for-
what's being asked here is to put some milestones within that 2 years.
Yes.
That they have to
And I
meet.
didn't recall
We've never-
hearing,
we-
and
we haven't done
we
that
didn't
recently.
discuss a milestone. It was just, we would address it, and I would think on the renewal that if nothing's happened, that would be a real strong, that would be at that point, a time to say, you haven't shown that you are really doing anything, and I think that that would be a good time to put that in.
Does Ray do any kind of follow-up when they do this kind of thing?
Well, you just, as far as the permitting process, once they decide to build their home, like Drew and Tammy Ware, I think they were the last ones that had the conditional use permit for their property with a travel trailer. I've issuing their permits right now, so I'm going through all their paperwork with their home, so.
I can understand that it takes a while to get things lined up for getting a pad put in and stuff like that, or expanding a pad. And it's timing wise, it's kind of late in the season to see if they make progress on getting that done this year. But you know,
I would say, normally I would agree with you, Robert. And I would just use our business example. We've been working on at the hardware store project for a year. That's going to be postponed till November because we can't get parts. And right now, we're still in a time in our country where as much as we plan and plan and plan, everything is getting pushed behind. Even the grocery store project has been pushed back. And so it's really hard to tell someone you have 180 days to make progress when there are things that are way out of their control. And we did set up precedents where we recently, two meetings ago, we granted this and we did not give them a stipulation. So it'd make it really hard to go back and tell this one now that they have to make progress in that time because we have not set that precedence.
I agree.
I'm kind of with the fact that 2 years, if they're not well on the way in construction, we wouldn't give them an extension any further on that. But if they're making progress and are most of the way completed at that point, then, we might give them another year to get it done. But I would expect that they would probably have it done in 2 years. Most people can get that figured out up here. So, any further comments?
I concur with you, Mr. Chair. I'll be voting in affirmative.
Any further comments? Roll call, please.
Jim,
Yes.
Yeah.
Philip, John,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Marita,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
All right, moving on to a consideration of an application from Chris Keegan's, Samaya Keegan's and Melissa Keegan's for a vacation of a section line easement and public access easement and review of alternative public access at 808, 812 Midcoff Highway. Do we have any public testimony? Comments? Okay. Do we have a motion on this one? So we can discuss.
So move.
Second.
I find the information that was provided to us really lacking. Photos would have been greatly helpful in this one. It looks to me like their pad extends out right now, even beyond their property line into DNR land. Yeah,
I think you need to go to the mic, sir.
State your name, please.
Chris Keekins. So is it that the GL7 line there?
well, on the drawing that we have here, it looks like the pad extends beyond GL7.
Okay. Could we, I think Dave's on the call. Could we have Dave Martinez comment on this?
Sure.
Okay.
Can you-
Dave, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me? Hello,
Yes,
can you hear me okay?
yes, we can.
Okay. The line that you see, the pad extending past is a very rough meander, the original GLO meander line. His property actually extends to the mean high water line, which is the outer boundary of the crosshatched area.
Okay,
So by definition, his property sidelines extend to that mean high water line, the 15.5. And so this is actually a requirement by ADNR, and one of the first parts of the process is to bring this before the local commission so that we can determine if there's any issues with them first. So the alternative access is also a requirement by DNR. If they vacate the existing easement, there needs to be an appropriate alternate access given as well. And we decided that by meandering the mean high water line, we could shift that easement seaward, and it will be out of the tree line and the fallen logs and everything along the beach, and it would actually be a much nicer path to walk. So that's kind of the core of it there. And Chris is he's been forced to develop in this area because the uplands is got quite a steep grade. And in the course of building that the driveway to it or down into his lot, Boston Reed discovered that the hillside is actually really hard to deal with as far as sloughing goes. So that's why the determination to get down into the bench that's closer to the water, the beachfront there was decided upon. So he's kind of forced to utilize this area. It's a lot more practical and safer for a building site.
On an extreme high tide, Would you still be able to use this proposed alternate access to walk the beach?
Probably not at the peak of the tide. But that would be for, a short amount of time. I don't think that would really impede the general access, the practical access along the beach.
Comments, questions?
So if we approve it, then it still has to go through the state. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So are they planning on building a pad or are they gonna build their house on piling?
On a pad because it's hard rock down there. So,
So it is hard rock.
yes, it is. We're down,
Pad's
to-
already in place.
we're down to hard pan, yeah. Yes, it is.
Because I know of a house out there that they ran into the same thing. And to get around it, they put their house on piling.
That's an
So you
option.
still had access underneath it.
Yeah, that's an option.
Yeah.
That'd be a secondary option.
Otherwise, your easement's gonna be what, 80, I can't read that smaller number, so it's 50 plus another 30, it'd be 80 feet back. So you'd be clear into the woods.
Well, that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're right up against the bottom of the bench, so the hill comes down and that line is right up against the bench there.
So there's a bench coming off.
Yeah.
As most of the lots out there
Yeah.
have.
Is there a road down there now?
Yes, we have a access road off of the Woodyard
Oh, okay.
Road there.
Okay, that's where I thought this was.
Yeah.
So there is a road down there.
Yeah,
And
the
pad.
original, the old,
And a
Are
pad.
we allowed to drive down there and look?
yeah,
Just out of curiosity.
Are we allowed to do that? I thought we couldn't. We're not supposed to do that.
I think we can go by it, like you could walk the beach or drive, like some properties you could just drive by and see. Others you could walk by and see, but we're not allowed on the property. Am I correct?
After we determine that we're in yay or nay, you can do it.
Yeah.
If you're curious, Phil.
Into the mic.
Unless we all were to go out there as a group, we cannot go out there individually.
But if I wanted to visit them, I could.
So,
If we all come, will you do lunch?
there you go. Smoked salmon.
When were you made aware that you'd have to go through this process? Because you put the pad in before you came to us.
Well, I wasn't aware that that easement line was there and excuse my ignorance. It was just, I thought the line was just the common access that you have off the beach that goes along that line. And I didn't think that it was up into the woods. I thought, all of us actually did, when Reeds put it in, they thought that the lines were different than where they were. So it was just an oversight. It wasn't an intentional, situation. And then we found out once we applied for our septic permit that, that there were some lines that we needed to deal with. So, yeah, it was a definite oversight.
Is this common to the whole area? The shaded line area?
I'm not sure. Dave, could you answer that question?
What was the question?
Is this as access consistent with the whole area or just a portion of it? Yeah. Because I know like,
This act, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, some people didn't have that when they bought their property many, many years ago.
Yeah, this alternative access, the crosshatched area, was developed kind of in the same spirit as the what happened in the Spruce Point subdivision that Rick Braun did years ago. It's the Fur Farm property. This very same section line easement goes through that property as well. And the University of Alaska had Rick vacate or go through the process to vacate that section line easement there. And the access shifted down to the mean high water line, just kind of like what we have here. So it's very close in spirit to that situation.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Yes,
Come to the mic, come to the mic.
come to the mic.
Thank you, Chris. Name?
Oh, I'm Beverly Richardson, and I didn't come except to learn about section lines, but usually there's a section line on either side of the sections. So isn't there also one seaward of this, westward of this? It is not on here, it only shows the 50 feet section line to the,
I think that's because all of that little government lot 7 and government lot 8 are covered by that easement. I'd have to zoom in
Yes.
here to see how wide. Yeah, it's only 37.35 feet on, from the center line of that section line easement to the corner of government lot 7 and government lot 8. So I'm sure they just didn't draw it on there because most of those lots are covered by that easement.
there's two issues, right? I mean, there's the easement along the water, the 50-foot setback, is that one of the
Mhm.
issues? Then the other is the section line easement.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious, still not certain of the answer.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
John,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Philip, Chris,
Yes.
Marita,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
All right.
Now, Phil, you can go and look at it.
Next is consideration of an application from Dave Omer for a minor subdivision at 531, 535 Mitkoff Highway. Public testimony.
Dave Omer, and I'm owner of the property, and basically I just want to take a non-conforming lot that's 148 feet wide and make it a 200-foot wide to conform with rural residential, and also expand the size of the lot to make it conform with rural residential. Nothing more. Both lots of the remaining lots will be both conforming.
Further testimony?
I move to approve minor subdivision at 531-535 Mitkoff Highway with the findings of facts as presented.
Second.
Discussion? I feel this is the kind of motion we like to see because it's bringing lots into compliance, so.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Roll call, please.
Jim,
Yes.
Marita,
Yes.
Philip,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Sally, John,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes. Okay. Next is consideration of a recommendation to the Borough Assembly regarding an application from Wecon Enterprises to purchase borough property at 103A Dock Street. Do we have any public testimony? Please come up to the microphone and state your name.
I'm Sherry Wecon, and thank you for hearing us today. I believe that the documentation that you got in your packet should explain what we're doing here. John and I are retiring and plan to continue to assist Earl and Hillary with whatever goes on at Wecon Enterprises. And currently Earl is working with us so that he can be well-trained and He's also had schooling for diesel mechanics. Their desire is to keep the business as is and continue to serve our local fishing fleet as we have done for the past 30 years. When we came to town, it was our intention to purchase property. And that deal fell through because someone decided they didn't want to sell after we moved everything up here, which was a fiasco. But the only thing at that time for us to do for building was to be on leased property. It wasn't our first choice, and we just had no other choice in it. I mean, this was where we had to be. It's been a great place, and we've enjoyed using it, but when it came time to sell, we found that the lending is extremely difficult financially to be able to, get good lending power. And the market value of our building goes down every year because of the years left on our lease. And we would like to purchase this property for the purpose of down the road when Hillary and Earl want to retire or sell the business to someone else, they have that ability to do it and not go through all the hurdles we're going through right now. I'd like to point out too, that if you look down Dock Street, the only other business that is, well, our business is 100% marine related for the fishermen and for anybody needing their engines repaired. Whereas the only other business is down at the end of Dock Street with Petro Marine and their fuel system or fuel dock. The other outlying businesses around there are not related to marine. And that's what I've heard from many. We did talk with Glow, and she wants that to be a marine related area. The building is marine related. And I just hope that you guys can see that this is a good move, that we want to keep this going. Because if we don't get to purchase this property, most likely the business will just cease. So we want to keep serving our fleet. Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay.
Hello, I'm Hillary McDonald, and I represent myself and Earl Warner. And we submitted our letter within the application packet, sorry. So I think we were pretty thorough in our information, but I just wanted to let you guys know that if you have any questions from our standpoint as the buyers, potential buyers, we'd be happy to answer any of those. And thank you for your consideration.
Hearing no further public testimony.
Mr. Chair, I move a recommendation to the Borough Assembly that the borough-owned property at 103A Dock Street be approved for sale.
Second.
Just a little history. When we did the comprehensive plan a few years ago, one of the things that was discussed was the properties in this area. And one of the big concerns that was voiced by a lot of people was that the businesses in that area be marine related. I feel this fits perfectly, so I don't see a problem. Any other discussion?
I agree with you.
All right, if there's no other discussion, roll call, please.
Heather,
Yes.
Marita,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Sally, Philip,
All right. Well, that finishes up our public hearings. Commissioner comments. I know Jim said he wanted to say
Yeah,
something,
so-
so.
from our last meeting, I listened to the Borough Assembly meeting afterwards, and there was a lot of criticism against the commissioners and stuff. And so I just want to remind people that, number one, we're just citizens, you know, trying to do the best we can. There is no formal training for this. We come in here, we volunteer our time. If we weren't here, the business wouldn't be conducted. We were very short, and I asked some people to put their name in for write-in, so thank you, people. So I thought there were some valid things. Heather brought up something, one of the points is, I did go online and I agree. You look for the hospital minutes and this says, see copy, there's no copies. I actually went through I read all the stuff on the hospital. And the one thing I found interesting, which we brought up, was what they presented to us was two different proposals matched. And so that was an unanswered question. There was an unanswered question about the funding. So as citizens, we had some valid concerns, and I did vote for it. But I just felt that for people to, you know, kind of blast us a little bit, I thought it was very unfounded. We do have opinions, and we're human beings and we express our opinions. So anyways, I just wanted to defend everybody. So that was all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I also had a problem with the various funding sources and starting a huge project this fall without having the money in hand. And one document showed this amount, the newspaper showed a different amount. We've had other things show another amount, and we didn't know really where we stood. And we didn't feel we could make an informed decision because of that. And to trounce on us for our volunteer time and our honesty is very upsetting to all of us on the board.
Any other comments? I'd just like to make a quick comment that I want to thank our fire department for their hard work last week. That they really need more volunteers. My son was on that fire, and he said it was a lot of really hard work because they were shorthanded. So I really want to thank the fire department for what they do and ask people to, if you can, volunteer. So,
Man,
Yes.
so. Any staff comments? All right, our next meeting is August 8th at noon. Anybody have any idea if you're going to be here? I'll be here.
I'll be
Miss
here.
it.
Okay,
God willing, I'll be here.
all right. We have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming.